This is the mid-year book freakout tag, and along with that, I had a mid-year book resolution that I finally broke up with my Goodreads reading challenge number. That little jerk has been taunting me on my Goodreads homepage all year long. It was driving me crazy. It's like book reading is not an assignment, and I shouldn't care how many books I read in a year. And I did it to myself. I punished myself. So I finally broke up with that little jerk, and he's gone. Now I keep wondering how many books I'm reading. Hi BookTube, it's Kim at K Becker's Books, and this is the mid-year book freakout tag. I had to look a little bit like mid-year book freakout tag, mid-year freakout book tag, I don't know, whichever one it is. And my daughter is over here on my left side, and she's trying to make me laugh. So, I was tagged by Sean the Book Maniac, who I believe is absolutely fabulous. And I don't know the originator of the tag. I think they're off of BookTube and not posting videos anymore. So let's get going. I have my laptop with my list over here, so I might be looking that way. And let's go. Number 1, the best book you've read so far in 2020. And very clearly, I think it is, well, you know what? Not very clearly. I actually have 2 of them. But this one, you probably would not be surprised. It's Middlemarch by George Eliot. And I have a full review video from March of the Mammoths that I will link below. But it's a classic by George Eliot, March of the Mammoths, because it's over 800 pages. Yeah, but I absolutely loved it. I thought it was a spectacularly written classic, written by a woman. And my other one is, for the first half of 2020, is the poetry collection from Danez Smith called Don't Call Us Dead. And one of my favorite poems is Dear White America, and I posted a video of Danez Smith reciting that poem on YouTube, and I'll post that link below as well. Absolutely amazing. Danez Smith is an African-American non-binary author, and not much more is needed to be said. The collection was incredible, and I'm not a poetry reader, but I'll post a picture here because I read it on my Kindle. Second prompt is a best sequel you've read so far in 2020. I don't read a lot of series or books that require a sequel. I did read one, actually, that's not true. I read a couple books this year that will have sequels. But the series that I read for middle grade March is Nevermore by Jessica Townsend, and this is the first book. Nevermore, The Trials of Morgan Crow, which is the story of Morgan Crow, who is an 11-year-old cursed child in the fantasy world of Nevermore. And the second book, the sequel, is WUNDERSMITH, The Calling of Morgan Crow, which I read very shortly after Nevermore back in March. And it was really good. I really enjoyed both of those books, and there's more to come, you'll see in a minute. Number 3, new release you haven't read yet but want to. The first one that I really want to read that's already out is The Dragons, the Giant, the Women, which is a memoir by Wyatt Moore. Wyatt Moore wrote She Would Be King, which I read in 2019. I read it last year. Absolutely loved it. Her first novel. This is a memoir about her childhood in Liberia in Africa and her immigration to Texas with her family. And it just came out this month, so I'm prepared to get my hand on that one. And don't quote me based on my last book haul video, whatever. The other one is Mexican Gothic by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. She wrote Gods of Jade and Shadow. And this one is a novel. It's Gothic horror, which is pretty much outside of my comfort zone. I don't typically gravitate towards books like that, but this one sounds really good. It's about a large, dark, imposing house called High Place, where her sister lives with her husband and son. I think there's a child, at least one child involved. The house is set in the Mexican countryside, and the main character, Noemi, gets a call from her sister saying, "You must save me from some impending doom." So her sister rushes to her to save her, and the sister has a very mysterious husband who Noemi does not know anything about, and starts to realize there's some dark stuff in their family past. Dun, dun, dun. So, number 4, most anticipated release for the second half of the year. The first one, I've got 2. Yeah, I've got 2 of them that I'm really looking forward to. The first one is Transcendent Kingdom by Yasi, which is due to come out in September of 2020. And I think I said that right. And the summary of that is a Ghanaian family in Alabama. The main character's name is Gifty. She is a PhD student studying reward-seeking behavior in mice and the neural circuits of depression and addiction. And she's had an experience with losing her brother to a heroin overdose after drug addiction, and a mother who is suicidal. And there's also a storyline of her faith and the evangelical church that she was raised in. So through all of these situations in her life, she's examining and struggling with her faith in the church, and all in for all of that storyline. The other one is due to come out in October of this year. It has been delayed and pushed up several couple times, and it is HOLLOWPOX by Jessica Townsend, which is the 3rd book in the Nevermore series. And this one ironically has to do with a disease that plagues the fantasy city of Nevermore. So a little timely, perhaps.
And you're still reading it?
Yeah, I'm still going to read it. Prompt number 5, the biggest disappointment. And I don't know if any of you have watched my other videos. You won't be surprised. My biggest disappointment is Joyce Carol Oates' Hazards of Time Travel. I don't know if there's a glare because it's got the plastic cover. The reason I don't know if there's a glare is because I finally flippin' turned my camera around to get the better camera, and I can't see myself, so I'm looking at a little tiny dot on the back of my iPhone, and I have no idea what I look like. I have no idea if you can see every pore in my face, lucky you. But now I'm on the better camera and I can't see anything, so I don't know if there's a glare on this book, so I'll kind of swivel it. Hopefully there isn't one. This was the biggest disappointment, and it's the first Joyce Carol Oates novel I've read, and it will not turn me off to reading more of her books because I know they're better than this. And this is her attempt at writing a dystopian novel. It's time travel. The main character is accused of committing pretty much like a thought crime in this future world, and she is exiled to the 1950s as a college student. And that's the story. A lot of details in here that just did not make sense, and the time travel aspect was interesting, but it did not tie the plot together well enough, and the ending just was too rushed, too clunky, too all of it. So that was a really big disappointment. UPS is here. My white fluffy 3-legged dog hates the UPS guy. Prompt number 6 is the biggest surprise. This is a weird one because this book is about surfing. It's Tim Winton's Breath, and I think it was simply because it was Tim Winton and I read it for Aussie April. This is a book about surfing. It tells the story of Sanderson, who is an adult, former legendary surfer, and he befriends 2 young boys who are simply looking for ways to consume time during the summer. It's set in Australia, at the beach. They take up surfing, and they bump into him from seeing him surfing on the beach, the same beach they're at, and they start to follow him around, basically, and they want to know his story. I'm not a surfer. I have no interest in surfing. The book is so descriptive about Australia, the beaches, the ocean, the technicalities of surfing, which I have no context, but absolutely loved. I loved Tim Winton's writing. And I'm going to actually do a deeper analysis on him. I've got Cloud Street that I just received a little bit ago, and I want to read that and do a separate video, so keep your eyes posted. Prompt number 7 is favorite new author, either a debut or new to you. And this is not a debut author, but I first read her book in February for Black History Month. And this is NALO Hopkinson's Sister Mine. This is an urban fantasy containing some Caribbean folklore. I really loved this book. There was there was some problematic aspects to it that I put it down for a couple days, picked it back up. I really enjoyed the writing. I enjoyed the story. And since then, I bought 2 of her other books. This is Brown Girl in the Ring and Midnight Robber. And I absolutely love the artwork on these books. I think it's beautiful. So I've got 3 of her books now, 2 of which are still unread that I really enjoy NALO Hopkinson's writing. Let's see. Prompt number 8 is newest fictional crush. The closest was Jimmy Quinn in The Sparrow. And Jimmy Quinn is a tall, lanky, gangly graduate student astronomer who's working on the Arecibo telescope in Puerto Rico. And he becomes one of 8 passengers on a spaceship going to the planet of Rakat in Alpha Centauri. And Jimmy Quinn is, like I said, tall, gangly, awkward, wicked smart, and just kind of crushing on him a little bit. That's the closest I got to a fictional crush. Number 9, prompt number 9 is newest favorite character. Again, I don't read books and I don't classify characters, but the closest I would come would be Dorothea Brooke / CASAUBON in Middlemarch. Dorothea is a woman, she's a very young woman, I think 19, and she simply wants to find purpose in her life, and she has goals, she has things that she wants to accomplish, but in the 1800s, Victorian England, there's not much she's going to be able to do with that. She defies conventions, and she goes on and she achieves many of her goals. So she's probably my favorite character of the first half of the year so far. Prompt number 10, books that made you cry. I don't often cry unless it's a poignant memoir of a person overcoming abuse or trauma or violence in their lives. So I don't often cry, but there were 2 books that made me tear up a little bit. I have one of them, and it's The Sparrow by Mary Doria Russell. The very beginning of the book opens with the story of Father Emilio Sandoz, who is a Jesuit priest, who was one of the four Jesuit priests on the spaceship, the mission to Rakat. He is the only passenger who has come back alive. And he comes back broken and beaten and disillusioned and suicidal. So the entire book is getting the backstories of each of these people that went on this mission and what happened to them, why he was the only one to return. By the end of the book, this was just harrowing, and what happened to him, what happened to the other passengers on the mission was just heartbreaking. So that was kind of a gut-inducing emotion. Prompt number 11, books that made you happy. I have 2 of them. One of them I wrapped up already. This is a contemporary romance, Evie Drake Starts Over by Linda Holmes. And this is a contemporary romance. I don't usually read them, but I had bought this on sale somewhere and I thought that looks really cute. So I picked it up and I was really pleasantly surprised. The writing was really good. I loved the story, even though it was somewhat predictable. You kind of knew what was going to happen. It's a contemporary romance, but I really liked it. And I was embarrassingly surprised that I thought the writing was really good, because just because a book is a romance doesn't mean it's not going to have good writing, but really made me smile, like that book. This one I just finished in June for Pride Month, and I'm not going to say a lot because I will wrap it up in my June monthly wrap-up. This is George by Alex Gino. Very quickly, it's the story of a transgender girl who was born in the body of a boy who was named George, but George prefers to be called Melissa, but can't yet be called Melissa because she's really not out yet. And all she wants to do is play Charlotte in the 4th grade production of Charlotte's Web, but the school says it's a girl's part. And this is a middle grade book. It made me happy. It was a lovely example of a book for young readers to introduce this topic. So that made me smile. Let's see. Prompt number 12, the best book to film adaptation you saw this year. One of my favorite movies of all time is Sense and Sensibility with Kate Winslet and Emma Thompson. And I honestly have not read Sense and Sensibility by Jane Austen, but I really love the movie. I actually watched the BBC miniseries of Sense and Sensibility and absolutely loved it. A little bit different from the movie. Actually, the two stories were pretty close. The miniseries clearly had more time to develop the book, and I absolutely loved it. I loved the actors. I loved the way they interpreted the characters, the atmosphere, the story. Absolutely loved it. Look it up. And I love the BBC productions of Jane Austen books. Pride and Prejudice with Colin Firth, who is a movie crush, is one of the best that I've seen. I absolutely love that version. Prompt number 13, favorite review you've written this year, or booktube version favorite video you've done this year. This was a really weird one, but I have two. One of them is my video review of The Sparrow, and I really enjoyed talking about that book at length, and I'll link that below. And my other one was my book club tag, because I think I smiled through the whole video talking about the Critical Chicks book group, and I had a really good hair day that day, so I like seeing my thumbnail with my hair looking that good. That's so stupid. Prompt number 14, most beautiful book you've bought so far this year. I have 3 of them. And the first one I just put in my book haul. It's The Stationery Shop by Marjan Kamali. It's got, here we go, it's got the gold foil. You put gold foil on your book, I'm going to be dying to throw money at it. So gold foil, it's a deckled edge paperback with French flaps. It's got beautiful flowers on it. Has the backdrop of Tehran and the 2 characters. It's just beautiful. The other one is Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell. I bought this from the UK because this was not out in the US. But look, again, gold foil. I'm telling you, I'm a sucker. Those are the end papers. It's just a really pretty book. I'm going to be buddy reading this in July with Gemma from Read a Book Gem, so I'm looking forward to that. And this has got to be the most gorgeous book I've probably ever bought. And again, I've hauled this already. It's The Illumination of Ursula Flight by Anna Marie Crowhurst. Gold foil. I'm going to try to do this slowly. Look at all that, the artwork. The end papers. It has illustrations on the title page. I hope you can see that. It's just such a beautiful, gorgeous book, and it's almost like I'm a little afraid to read it because I'm afraid to ruin it. I will read it though, believe me. And the last prompt is number 15. What books do you need to read by the end of the year? Reading is not an assignment, people. This is not my Goodreads reading challenge goal. I don't have an assignment to read, and there's nothing that I need to read. There's stuff that I really want to read. And I think that's more what the question means. So that's what I'm going for so far. The first one is a sequel. This is Children of God by Mary Doria Russell, and it's the sequel to The Sparrow. I really want to get to this year. I might not get to it in July, but I will get to it before the year ends. Really looking forward to that. This one I was going to read in June for Pride Month, but I read the first couple of pages and I realized I want to devote a better focus to this book on its own. I want to go back to being a monogamous reader instead of having a pile of 7 or 8 books on my currently reading list. But this is Girl, Woman, Other by Bernardine Evaristo, the rightful sole winner of the Booker Prize. No, I have not read it yet, but I don't need to. It should have won on its own, not with a partner winner. So this one, like I said, I read the first couple of pages and I realized I'm going to push that to July because I want to devote my focus to this book without having other stuff that I'm peeking into. And the last one is Anna Burns' Little Constructions. Milkman was one of my 2 favorite books last year. Absolutely loved that novel. And this one, I saw this in the bookstore and I thought, oh, that's her new book. But this was actually published in 2007, and I'm pretty sure it was just reprinted after her Booker Prize winning Milkman. So this one I may actually try to get to this in July because I've been dying to read that. That is it for the mid-year book freakout book tag. I'm not going to tag anybody because I think anybody has already done this. I don't know enough people who haven't, so I'm not tagging anybody. but you've probably seen so many of these videos out that just do it if you haven't done it already. Just do it because I told you so. That's it. I hope you come back for the next video, and I'll talk to you soon. Thanks for watching. Bye.